Bonjour, ladies and gentle people of the world. I got a banger of a video for you guys because in this video, I want to discuss and talk about what may potentially end up being the best way to stake your hex, a strategy that I think will lead me to be able to retire by 2026. And I want to make the case in this video for why I think Trio, a Maximus DAO staking pool for hex, where people stake their hex in a lump pool altogether for the added benefit of allocation to the bigger pays better bonus and the added liquidity of being able to sell your token whenever you like. That represents your ownership in your slice of ownership in that total pool. Why I think Trio is the best option. So folks, there's a lot to discuss in this video. The implications of getting this right or wrong could lead to the financial freedom of perhaps me and hopefully many others. So folks, there's a lot to delve into. Everyone like and subscribe. Hit that bell icon to be notified of new uploads. Say things. YouTube likes it when you do stuff. Please save me from having to shill a Bybit link. I'm constantly asking myself why I have not sold out yet. There's tons of money in selling out. So folks, without further ado, there's a lot to discuss. Let's delve into it. Look, folks, the way you normally stake your hex is through the hex.com website and the user interface, where if you're an average size, average length staker, you typically earn 38% a year on the world's best performing and most underrated asset, hex. Now, what are some potential problems here? Well, there's gas fees. If you stake for many years, 15 years, even 5 years, and you go to unstake your hex, you're going to be paying a shit ton of Ethereum gas fees. As well, you know, if you're kind of a more normal staker, you know, you're probably not staking one of the larger amounts, and so you're not really getting allocation of that bigger pays better bonus. Plus, when you stake your hex, you're locked up and you cannot withdraw early without a massive penalty. So then came along some Maximus DAO folks, some developers, to kind of solve some of these problems. Where what Maximus DAO is, it's a DAO, decentralized autonomous organization, or a piece of smart contract where you can participate in a pooled together hex stake to solve some of these problems. Where if you participate in one big lumped together hex stake where a bunch of people throw in small amounts here and there and it gets staked and locked up all at once, well, what that does is that it gives you a slice of an allocation to the bigger pays better bonus. You're also saving a ton on gas fees when it comes to unstake. Plus, and this is a big one too, you have the added liquidity of being able to sell the token whenever you like. Because normally, again, folks, when you stake your hex, you're completely locked up, you can't sell. But should need be, should some emergency arise, whatever it might be, and should you need to sell, you can sell either the base, Trio, Lucky, or DECI token, which you get depending on what pool you participate in. If you participate in the 1 year pool, you get base, 3 year pool, Trio, 7 year pool, Lucky, DECI, so on. So depending on how much hex you put in, that will determine how many of these tokens you get in. If you put in 100 hex, you get 100 Trio, 1,000 hex, 1,000 Trio, so on and so forth. And these tokens represent your ownership in that pool. So when it comes to redeem and unstake your hex plus your principal plus all the Hadron, you'd go to the user interface here where it says redeem. Let's say you put in, you had 1,000 Trio, you go and you redeem your principal plus interest plus all the Hadron, all that good stuff. So with these pools, you're earning a varied interest rate. I believe from what I heard that the Trio pool will be earning 15% a year for 3 years, and these pools will be earning, I think, 20, 25, around there. Not too sure. So why is it that the Trio pool specifically, I think, is a better option than these other pools that are paying you more hex, more yield? The reason why I think the Trio pool specifically may potentially end up being a by far better option, especially if you implement one particular strategy, not arguing that you should, I'm just describing what I will be doing, is because I think there is a very, very solid chance that this Trio pool will be unlocking and unstaking around when the next Bitcoin cycle top and hex cycle top is likely to be. And to kind of put things and summarize things very quickly, I'll delve into the nuance further, but to summarize things very quickly, my plan is to hopefully, I may end up not being able to do this, but the plan is to hopefully be able to sell all my hex from that pool, the principal plus the interest, around the next hex all-time high, then wait and then reaccumulate all my hex once again after an 80 some odd percent correction. And in doing so, I will be able to accumulate far more hex than I had originally, depending on how well you can time things, around 4 to 5 times more hex than you had originally. And I believe at that point, even after an 80-90% correction come sometime in 2026, I'll be able to stake my hex month to month and retire off my hex alone. So let me further delve into why I think this idea has some viability. Now, of course, there's the added risk of failing to time the market correctly. There's tax implications, and you really kind of have some degree of confidence in how these markets work and the things to look out for to understand when they may be topping off. So because there's a lot of additional risk in taking on the strategy, this is not something I recommend for most people. In fact, I think most people should not do this. I'm simply describing a strategy that I will be using and implementing myself because if I can even get this roughly right, I can, again, 4 to 5 times my original hex bag using this pool and this strategy. So, folks, why do I think there's a solid chance that this trio pool will be unstaking around the next Bitcoin and Hex all-time high? The reason why I believe there's a chance that this may happen is because if you look at the way Bitcoin has moved historically, there has been 525 days from the 2016 Bitcoin halving to the next Bitcoin all-time high. And if we look at this past cycle here, from the last halving to this all-time high was 543 days. So we can see that Bitcoin took about 20 days more this cycle around to top off. So if Bitcoin continues to do something similar, and we take roughly 560 days from the next Bitcoin halving to reach its all-time high, that means that I think there's a solid, realistic chance that Bitcoin will reach its next cycle all-time high fourth quarter 2025, late 2025. If we're attempting to be more specific here, sometime mid to late September 2025. And wouldn't you know it, this trio pool is unlocking early October 2025. So, given that historically speaking, altcoins such as Ethereum have reached their cycle all-time high roughly a month after Bitcoin. This happened both in 2017 and the 2021 cycle. And given the fact that there's some argument for lengthening cycles, I do believe there is a solid chance that the next Hex all-time high will be around when this trio pool opens up and expires. Now, guys, there's a chance that this might not happen. There are tax implications. One has to be able to confidently have an understanding of what signs to look out for in order to understand when there could be a cycle top. So there's a lot of additional risk in taking on the strategy, but just understand that if I am able to roughly do this, again, I will be able to increase my original Hex bag by many, many times over, that I think taking on a little bit of additional risk for me makes sense. So what I will be doing is, again, in my opinion, I think there's a solid chance that Bitcoin and Hex tops off roughly around this time, late 2025. And if this pool happens to open up and I notice Hex starting to show signs of no longer being in a bull market, then I will sell all my Hex and then reaccumulate after an 80% correction. Now, how will I know when the next Hex all-time high is? Well, you can consider timing analysis, but you can also do what I find is extremely helpful, which is finding a moving average that holds as support throughout the length of the bull run. And once we get several daily candles opening and closing below it, this is a 3-day, we're looking at 3-day candles here, folks. That's your sign that the bull market is likely over. So as we see in this particular example, this is the 50-day simple moving average. Held as support, held as support, held as support, held as support. As soon as we lost it, bear market, folks. And so come 2025, if that pool expires before something like this happens, and I see Hex have a 3-day close below the 50-day SMA, I will be selling all of my Hex, folks. And then begin to accumulate upon an 80% correction. So imagine you having been able to sell at 38 cents and then accumulate back again at around 8 cents. Folks, you would have dramatically increased the size by several times over what you originally had. And here's the cherry on top, even more so than simply having had remained staked in these other pools. Because with these pools, while you don't have the additional risk of attempting to time the market and getting it wrong, and you don't have that additional risk of having tax implications for buying and selling, and you get that higher APY, what you don't get with these pools is being able to 4, 5, 6, 7 times X your original bag if you can get the next cycle roughly right. I'm not saying that with the strategy I need to time the next top perfectly or time the next hex cycle bottom perfectly, but simply selling late 2025 and then reaccumulating my hex late 2026. I believe with that strategy there is a very solid chance of being able to get much more hex than I had originally, and much more than if I had simply remained staked in these pools. So folks, if you're interested in participating in any of these pools, not financial advice, I'm just letting you know, always go to official sources. Check out the Maximus _DAO Twitter for all the links to these pools and other resources as well. And just to kind of summarize here, folks, with the trio pool, I believe expiring around the next hex all-time high, selling roughly around there, and then reaccumulating the next cycle bottom roughly, one is able to accumulate orders of magnitude more hex than if they had simply participated and remained staked in these other pools. Therefore, I think there's a strong case to be made that trio is by far the best staking pool there is. Now, with that being said, folks, there is the massive risk of getting the timing wrong. What if the cycle tops off before the trio pool on stakes? I mean, if we look at kind of how things could be going here, folks, you know, this is cutting it pretty close. There's a chance we mistime the market. There's a chance the trio expires sometime after the next hex all-time high. There's also tax implications here. There's also, you know, you gotta kind of be confident as to what signs to look out for, to kind of understand whether or not we could be at a cycle top or not. So there's a lot of additional unnecessary risk when it comes to implementing the strategy. Other people would argue that simply remaining staked in these pools, and when they expire, simply selling the interest of whenever it may be is the safest strategy. And if you don't want to take that additional risk of attempting to time the market, then good for you. These pools are all well and good. But for someone like me who's comfortable with taking on a bit of additional risk, this is a strategy that I think, if I can even get roughly right, will lead me to be able to retire on my hex alone come sometime in 2026. Folks, let me know what you think about this strategy. If I should clarify things a bit more, if this makes sense, down in the comments below. Everyone, like and subscribe. Until next time, take care.